I saw a question posed on Threads the other day by an artist and a poet and a speaker and author, buddy of mine named Jackie Hill. She said, "What is the big deal about Taylor Swift anyway? Like, why do people really even like her?" So I don't know a lot about her, but what is it, right? And I know that a lot of people have that question. And from an entertainment perspective, because I could talk about her from a business perspective, and I will in a future video, but from an entertainment perspective, there are several reasons why Taylor Swift is a big deal or why she's so successful. And it's all about her persona and her personal blend. Listen, before I get into all of that, let me say this. People want to know that is it because she is sold out, sold her soul? Is she demonic because she makes demonic music? What is it? Anything having to do with something scandalous, something evil? And I truly believe that the other side of Taylor Swift's success, I'm not going to tell you what I believe just yet, but trust me, we're going to unpack the secrets to Taylor's success. Let's go.
Listen, ShySpeaks, 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 ShySpeaks.
All right. So when it comes to Taylor Swift, there are two things that I want to say. She is an artist and she is a business. When I say she's an artist, the thing that makes Taylor successful is that she is a singer that is known for, well, being a songwriter who sings. I know. God, I was going to say something deep. I would have, but the truth of the matter is that really is deep. She is a singer who is known for writing songs well that she sings. And so often people will like that people are artists and they're just popular. Maybe they're not as talented vocally, and they're not even a talented writer. They just have this big music industry. They have this big machine behind them, and that's what's making them appear to be successful, but not so much for Taylor Swift. She is actually personable. She's personable. There's a certain realness about her when you know that she's the one who writes the lyrics, and she kind of puts her own personal experience in there. There's this unmanufactured feeling that you get even though she's a very polished artist. It's something about it that's real and raw. She recently, let me say this, let's get this straight. Taylor Swift recently won 9 VMAs. Yes, 9 VMAs, which is crazy. She broke a record. She always breaks records. But ultimately is like, what is it? Like, how did she do that? What's really going on? I'm telling you, we're gonna get it in. So first and foremost, she actually does what she says she's gonna do. She delivers on what she's supposed to deliver. Don't you hate when there's a company and they say they do one thing, but they kind of like, this is not, a person who says they're about something, but they're not quite. No, Taylor is a singer songwriter who is a singer songwriter, and she does it exceptionally well. Now, when it comes to content, right? She's a hopeless romantic who goes about getting mishandled by her lovers. But it's not just that. If you really listen to her music, she explores a full range of emotions. It's not just love and loneliness. Like, she talks about being a young country girl. And one song she has called Mean. She says, one day I'll be living in a big old city, and all you're ever gonna be is me. Anyway, it's just like, why would you even say that? She says, one day I'm gonna be something, and all you ever gonna be is me. Why you gotta be so mean? It's just a simple way of it being written. So there's this simple and subtle yet clever way that she writes her stuff, and it allows her to express, again, the full range of emotions. And since she has been mishandled by romantic lovers, and she's been mishandled by various people, she positions herself in her personal life as someone who stands up for others who too get mishandled, from the marginalized to fellow artists. And that's like a noble thing. So now when we move beyond her being an artist, you see her artistry even leaking out into her personal life. And it just kind of creates this thing that there's this likability. And not only does she make sure that she doesn't get mishandled, she makes sure other people doesn't get mishandled, using her cleverness and her wit, which shows back up in her lyrics, which is like everything is speaking back to each other. It's all working together artistically. She grew up with her artists. I'm sorry, let me say this. Artistically, she grew up with her audience, which is really cool, because a lot of times you'll get artists who get stuck at somewhere. They get stuck in an era. They get stuck at an age. And so while you're getting older, it's like their music is staying the same because they're steadily trying to appeal to that same target group. I want to appeal to 18-year-olds. And so 18-year-olds. And so 18-year-olds. And at this point, you're 28. So you no longer can relate to them. Not so much with Taylor. She grew with her fans. And so she positioned herself as this all-American, kind of like sweetheart. I don't want to say she positioned herself. I think that's kind of what she was. This American girl, sweetheart, country. She moved from country to pop. She moved from literally the country or rural areas or to big city. So she understands country living. She understands big city living. She is evolving as a young adult, but her songs also kind of express her inner child. So it appeals to younger girls. So she's continuing to be able to keep a pulse and a thumb on the younger generation. But as she's evolving and growing as an adult, she's able to bring in those adult, primarily women as well, right? But also, when we talk about the children, it's because of her music not being extremely explicit, not previously, right? So it previously, well, let's say this, until recent albums, you'd find it very difficult to find an explicit stamp on her music. Matter of fact, let me just show you what it looks like. Let's just show you over here. All right. So as you can see, this is Taylor Swift's albums, right? And so, which is another thing, it's consistency. Look at this. 2006, 2008, 2010, 2012, 14, 17, 19, 20, 20, 2021, 2021, 2022, 2023. I mean, it's like there's always a new product. So if you're a person who's a fan or a customer consuming a product, you don't have to wait long to be served, which is another thing, to be consistent over a long haul. But if you look at her albums, when you say like it's not very explicit, it's not very provocative, it's not like a lot of sensuality and things like that, you'd be hard pressed to find albums where she's explicit. Here's an example. She reinvented herself, which is another thing that people like about her, is that she reinvents her own music and creates these new experiences. And so you're not waiting for someone else to create the experience. She's recreating it herself. But anyway, if you look at this album, and this is one of the ones that she created from years ago, right? So Speak Now came out in 2010. And as you can see here, there's no explicit marks over to the side, right? So it was, and I'm pointing that out because I'm going to explain why I'm pointing that out. But now, recently, if you look at her albums, and let's see, let's view this album. There is an explicit, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, 7, 8, 9. Out of 23 songs, there is an explicit mark on 9 of them. And that explicit mark doesn't mean it's because she's like being vulgar or violent or demeaning. Usually it's an indication that there's some language in those. Now, I've fallen off from being a Taylor listener. I used to be a Taylor listener back in the day with the Red album and some of the other stuff because I really like country music. But once I started hearing more explicitives, it just kind of didn't resonate with me. Again, I'm not a big person on profanity. I believe we should be watching what we say. And I think that we should not be letting that type of corrupt speech come out of our mouth. And that's my own spiritual conviction. But I do understand that maybe she's using some strong language for the sake of imagery and all that. Some people say they have their reasons. But listen, I beg to differ, and I don't want to hear it since I don't use it. And if I hear it oftentimes, I'll find myself probably wanting to swear. And so since I've sweared off swearing, I tend to not listen to Taylor anymore. So I don't really know what a lot of the new songs are about. But ultimately, as you can see, it's not very vulgar. And if anything, there may be a word or two, some language or two in the song. But overall, she's kind of like a safe listen, a safe bet. And then when I say safe, safe as in like not too morally debunked, right? At that time when you were growing up listening to Taylor, and if you're kind of coming along now, you're like, maybe a little language, but there are several songs that I can listen to. I mean, I can listen to several before I get to another song where it's something explicit, and I guarantee you, even once I'm listening to those, it's not going to be anything demeaning or vulgar or anything like that. So there's that. She's still ultimately this person who wants to be in love, and she's having these experiences, and everybody can relate to that type of thing. Now, the other thing I want to note, I said earlier, the artistic innovation. So she reinvents her own songs, and then also this is the part that really makes her likable, even as an artist, that she has made contributions to the business of music, right? So when you're a fan of Taylor's, you see the moves that she's making for you as a consumer, or let me say this, you're not a fan of Taylor, you're a Swiftie, as they would call themselves. So when you see that she's making moves for the industry, and so not only is she breaking records like 3 Grammys, and I think she's like one of the only female artists that have it, and 9 VMAs. Like, so you see her making trends and making headway, but it's not just that. There are certain times that she sees things happening in the music business that's not advantageous, or it's actually less than desirable. It's not beneficial for independent artists or even an artist that signed. So she then decides to make a move. Like at one point, she pulled all of her music from streaming platform to, send a message to them that, hey, something needs to happen different here, right? And so ultimately you see her being very shrewd in the music industry. So not only is she an artist, but she's shrewd in that industry that she's in. Again, it makes you all the more like her. So this is the reasons why she is a big deal. Now, I can get into a bonus tip as to why she's a big deal and why she is so successful, but ultimately we have to acknowledge the artistry, right? I could talk about the business side, but the artistry is there. So when I talk about the artistry, her artistry comes forward through the writing, the lyricisms, the song making. I actually want to show you quickly, just a little bit. I'm not even going to play it. I'm just going to mute the video, but I'm going to play this clip, because the way Taylor Swift writes, every song could be like a music video, if not every song, almost every song could be a music video. And she then makes the music videos, and then she directs the music videos. So here's an example. So this is Anti-Hero, right? What's going on? And then she gets to she's running, and then it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. And then she just like not taking herself serious, right? So she's just like this person who is the problem. Like, hey, look, come on, me. I'm the one that wants to get you to do all these negative things. I want you to be so wild. You know what I mean? Like, but all of a sudden she's wondering why she's like trapped in her head and having all this type of. So, I mean, there's a lot of imagery. So the song in and of itself is simple, it's subtle, it's not overly sensual and provocative or dark or anything like that. And then it's clever, it's witty, and then she oftentimes underscores it with a visual, which all the more tells the story, right? And so I think that we are people who love story. This is the secret to her success right here. We are people who love, love, love stories. And Taylor, being the songwriter that she is, she writes great stories. It's just true. I could talk about whether or not her music these days is what the story is about. I don't know. I could, but I don't know specifically to be talking about it, which I want to point out to some people who are listening, like who are believers. I hear them a lot of time talk about artists. Oh, they're this, oh, they're that. They're talking about this, and this is dark, and this is demonic. And then if you ask them to quote any lyric, they probably cannot, which is actually speaking on things that you don't know about, which is actually something that is detrimental, in my opinion. you shouldn't be speaking on that. Why? Because the word says to let your yes be your yes and your no be your no. If I ask you, hey, do you know for sure about, then you'd have to say, well, I mean, yeah, I know, but no, I don't know. That's a flippy floppy, wishy washy. You're giving a yes, but it's really a no. You're giving a no, and I know that that's not typically how people use that, but I just want to put that there, just a little side note, a little message, a little side note. So I can't speak to what the themes of her songs are about these days and all that, but one thing I do know that is very consistent and it's very clear, because this is a video that came out. When I say this is a video, the video here that came out just in 2000. Yeah, came out 10 months ago. And she's also, you can see the storytelling. There's a skit that is happening and all that kind of stuff. That is artistry. So she's an artist who is an artist who is not big manufacturer and all that kind of stuff. She's just telling her stories, and she's evolving as a person. And as she evolves, then we're watching her story unfold. So it's story within a story within a story, right? And I think that there is this desire for us to know a story. And I believe ultimately that's probably because there's a story of us, there's a story of God, there's a story burning in our soul that wants to know. So I think there's that piece. And Taylor is a story. She's a young woman who evolved. And as she continually evolved, she began to speak up for others. And some people would say that she tries to align herself in such a way to where she is maybe morally debunked in some ways to some people. But in other ways, she's a hero because she's speaking up for people who are marginalized, which she's marginalized, which is interesting because she's a all-American Caucasian girl, as you would say, who kind of looks like she's the hero. And then she even knows that she's an anti-hero because she's the kind of like, you keep breaking up with everybody, I must be the problem. So she kind of like laughs at herself, doesn't take herself too serious, and realizes like, man, I'm kind of, maybe it's me that kind of creates these experiences. And there's that kind of reality and the way she's telling the story of herself, and she kind of self-deprecating comedy kind of works his way back into being likable. There are so many factors. I could talk on and on as to why people like Taylor Swift, but or like Taylor Swift. Ultimately, for some people, it's also still nostalgia, right? They liked her when they were younger. They used to listen to the Speak Now and the Red album and reputations and so forth and so on. So she's at this earmark right now of this hero, and she's culminating it by saying, I'm kind of actually an anti-hero because I'm really like, don't have all the qualities, I just have some of them, but I'm saving the day by showing that, hey, just be yourself in some kind of way. People may think you're innovative. And so this is why people like Taylor. It's subtle, it's safe, it's excellent, it's nostalgic, it's story. And I would ask you to ask yourself, why do I like stories so much? I'm not even going to ask you to go listen to any Taylor songs because it kind of doesn't matter, but because now you have the information you need to be able to really go speak on what is the big deal about Taylor. The second thing is she's a businesswoman. Not only is she just clever when it comes to music and the music business, but there's the music even outside. I mean, there's the business even outside of music with a real estate portfolio and what all she's doing for the economy. Bonus tip before we end this video, she is on track to gross about 5 billion for the US economy, and that's an entirely different thing. I'm going to talk about that in another video, but listen, it is a reason she is a big deal. It is not hype. It's a true thing. But the crux of it, the secret behind it, is consistency and story. Question for you. Do you love a good story? Yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening to my take on why Taylor is such a big deal and the secrets behind her success. I hope that helps you. I hope that helps you with being able to explain that to people. Why do they like her? Or maybe you might find some respect for her, or maybe you just like, nah. At least I know it's all about story, but why do I really like story so much? Leave me with a question. Anyway, peace out.
Listen, ShySpeaks, 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 ShySpeaks.